The Clerics of Corruption, Dark Apostles. Welcome, gentle listener, I am Baldermort, your faithful servant, and I wish to introduce you to the forces, factions, and faces of the Warhammer 40k setting, the grim darkness of the far future, where there is no time for peace, there is only time for war. If you wish to see the channel flourish and possibly take on bigger topics and get better resources, then like and subscribe. But also consider joining our Patreon or throwing a one-off tip in the form of a super thanks if I have indeed earned your bounty. And today, we shall be taking a long overdue look into one of the most despicable cast of characters in the galaxy. One might think that the competition for this title is hard-fought, with the Dark Eldar and Mechanicum being firmly in the running. Yet, even amongst such a shower of vicious malcontents, these beings cannot be far from the pinnacle. They are often ancient and terrible, nightmares from an age of unfettered cruelty and savagery. Of course, as the title states, I can only be talking about Dark Apostles. As usual, the format to this video will be simple. A tale to set the mood, then the cold hard lore of the topic. So, let us begin. Story continued from Abundance Tertius and Chaos playlists. From the Bold Library, The Perfect Moment. Horus was weak. He understood nothing. Not his role, not the war, its nature. It is not one of fleets, formations, or forces. It is one of faith, and faith alone. At long last, it is time. Centuries in the making. My labyrinthine schemes hang low. I can practically feel the pressure on the branches, pulled down by their pregnant, ripened potential. I have plucked some of late. Catspaws, sinners, scum, and villains. I prepare a banquet of sorrows to complement a celebration so sweet, a victory so complete. No, I cannot even think it. Not here. As above, so below. As within, so without. I must maintain my mask, even in my own soul. Thus I regain my lauded control. Now, it is time to reap the harvest. Now, it is time to set all in motion. Now, it is time to unleash the commotion. My minions arrayed, the cardinal only one for shoal of catch. All of my worms burrow or crawl toward my destination, aptly coined, for that place is indeed my destiny. I have served the four, each and as one. But where others talk, I have acted. Where others idly dream, I have enacted. Block by block, lie by lie, deed by deed, soul by soul, I have built my sepulchre of silence while speaking. I filled a board on which to play out the preordained brutal ballet. I walk to the mystic mirror and swoon at my own comeliness. Then I slam my clenched fist into it again and again, shattering it, smashing my fists down on the shards until they are coated in 1,000 weeping nicks and cuts. Sensations merge, pain and pleasure. My red liquid flows. I lick some from my hands, tasting the bile amongst the blood, the fetid stench of pus oozing amidst the tributaries of my tribute. I laugh raucously as I place my forefinger into palm and dip it into the cupped reservoirs of red there. Then I paint. Not daubing or scrawling, but clean mathematical lines. Shapes I intone in the material with my own fluids. The runes of wisdom, sigils of mystic might. The four now exalted, I pass my many circles and wards, and process up the stairs to my sanctum sanctorum, my axis mundi. I crest the last step, and the moaning begins. Throats without tongues to give word to their pain, eye sockets without orbs, yet sightless all the same. The guardians of my ritual shrine scrabble across the stones to me, imploring with gesture, heads down, the score of them cruel. My hands hang low, they kiss them and croon as I walk the lines of human wreckage, ever on to my truest shrine. I stand at my workbench of wickedness, all things prepared. An iterator's silvered taster, I nonchalantly flip into the brazier filled with many-hued flames. It shrivels as it burns, disgorging its secrets, similes, tropes, and lies into the air. Whispers surround me, infuse me. I prepare to speak the true language, the glottal tongue. Knowledge is power, and language is intent. If you speak the cant of demons, you can see inside their head. The secret riders and added insinuations. Every syllable they speak, like a flower unfolding, each petal a different foreboding. Know thy enemy and hear their heart, for it dribbles out amongst each and every letter and word. Time to fiddle the fiddler. A grimoire opens where I deign, its fluttering pages stop upon a name. I form thought and open my mouth, transforming the conceited cogitation into conversation. My mouth moves under its own volition, as thought becomes sound, becomes power, becomes effect. I take my athame and reach behind me. My hand closes on hair. I twist and pull it round me. One of my guardians. I open its throat with one practiced slice. The red fountain sprays across the ground. None touches my altar, of course, but glyphs light across it all the same. And I speak. I command thee, liege of casual liars. I summon thee, plotter of downfalls most base. I invoke thee, Zazamanel Atrabal. The two many-hued kaleidoscopic flames twist upward from the brazier, and beyond them, within them, a form appears. 100 eyes open on wings furled around the Prince of Foolishness, perhaps the weakest of its kind. It opens its feathered limbs, and the bird-like image reveals itself, and then shifts into a star. Light flickers from it in impossible variety. It pulses as it speaks. Your life is forfeit. Your powers revoked. Your hubris I will make you choke. Booms the demon. Its 100 voices each tell another lie, reveal another truth. I hear the words truly and gain their intent. Mostly bluster, but also fear. Deploring and imploring as it feels its own defeat. I look on with limpid eyes, and I smile at it. It senses the source of my enlightenment, and its possible annihilation. "Where get you that tomb? I can kill you in your mother's womb," it hisses, terrified, but not of the book, not even of the knowledge contained therein, but of course, who wields it. I reach into the flames and grasp the star in my fist. Delicately pulling it out, I use its own language to intone again and again. I command thee, lord of unskilled dissemblers, plotter of petty retributions. I constrain thee, Zazamanel Atrabal. It attempts to burn my fist, but cannot break my hold. I open said fist, but I perform 100 hand mudras with the other. A cage of conceits and concepts envelops it, each line of thought containing its true name. I step backwards to bask in my art. It rails but can break through naught. The star surrounded by tentacles of my own darkness. I shall bind it to my rod another day. I am enraptured with the beauty of its brilliance. Zazamanel Atrabal joins Delacour and Botulaz. 3 down, 1 to go. And that being now the operable word, as I do, I glance at it and give another longing sigh, then turn on my heel and give the permission the others need. The guardians all pounce on the cadaver at my feet as I flick a finger in its direction. Maws and jaws bite down for rare sustenance as I process back down the stairs. I pass the doors to my outer residence and armor myself in the usual way. The insufferables who bring my warplate and panoply of war will all be burnt by end of day. I stride out of my palatial quarters. Alas, I know what I will find, of course. Seer that I am. My door guards slaughtered, a semicircle of helmless, panting Astartes now leer. The Coryphaeus gives me a gift, a warm-up before my speech. At least he has the decency to attempt to keep me on my toes. 5 of them, marines of my own host, but ones I have inadvertently or deliberately snubbed. I know them all, watched them do this in a dream, where they came from, what they carry, what grudges fill their hearts. I know it all, but that does not substantially change the situation. They are younger, do not recall my golden days before I learnt the art. I leer back at them as I drop into combat stance, inviting them on with an outstretched gesturing hand. Surprised, their eyes twinkle. They thought I am only a sorcerer. They do not know why we apostles were born. Ah, the old days, when I hid my talent so deep, even I forgot it was there. And they made a wolf into a shepherd. An apostle now, a chaplain then. I show them why we led men. The first comes at me from the left. I extend my left hand and fire the Volkite Serpenter. His head immolates, and the back of his armor explodes like molten lava. The second springs at me from the front, and I sidestep his rush. His blade crackles past me, and I kick out his leg. He sprawls. Time gained. One from right, one from left, both charge. I do not roll away. I swing my dark Crozius up with such force, the first is knocked back. The other I twist past and bury my Crozius in his skull. I twist again, never stopping, and bring it into the torso of another, its barbs piercing his warplate and collapsing his chest, crushing both his hearts. The fallen leader, who I kicked out, scrambles across the ground to escape. I shoot him in the legs, and both become pools of red-hot ceramite as he screams his last. The one remaining I dive at, slamming my crozius at him time and again. My battle rhythm now returned. I bully him backwards until he trips, with a two-handed overhead grip. I bring down my humming, crackling crozius a half-dozen times. Ah, the beauty of bloodshed. There is nothing much left but pate when I am done, all gone, invigorating. I march on, meeting my relief guards, staggered that their brethren were so remiss in their duty, then head to the arena. Time to address the masses and my loyal sons of truth. I appear before them all in the amphitheatre, carefully chosen to give my best performance, of course. I stand high above my people, my sons of truth warband, and the throngs who gather to hear my wisdom. So, let us fire their songs. Come, brothers! Come, sisters! Hearken to my words! For I am the receptacle, I am the voice of that which rules over all. From my lips to your hearts, I speak the tongue of truth alone. Only you can understand what I say. Only you can be trusted to obey. For you are the pure, the clean, the righteous, and you are the fire that burns away all lies. Prophecy unfurls. Let them mark the time when the laurels of the 500 are saved by death, when the deep woods feel the king of cat's breath, when the insatiable moor encircles the void, when the timeless liege rouses his kind, when the jester prepares his final bow, when the ghoul seer ascends the ladder now, when mystic moth and snake return, when the first sun makes the steel glove burn. Then is the time for service most righteous. Then is the time for action most bold. I do not speak the last line, of course. Then will the ways be weakest, the cage ready to be unlocked. Let us not confuse the issue, nor let any with the wit to see. I continue. Our torpor is complete. The moment has arrived. We are the girt for war. I have 100 times 100 times 100 raucous faithful under my sway. I have 13 times 13 times 13 red-plated brothers to array. I have 8 times 8 times 8 demons led to the fray. I have 7 times 7 times 7 shackled spirits to then display. I have 6 times 6 times 6 travesties to cauterize and splay. I have 5 times 5 times 5 traitors leading the enemy astray. I have 4 times 4 times 4 vessels to carry us away. I have 3 times 3 times 3 champions to fight and flay. I have 2 times 2 times 2 sorcerers to spread holy dismay. I am the 1 times 1 times 1. Upon you, blessings I pray. I am the leader, passion and purpose. I leave now, without delay. Arise, my sons of truth! Arise, my people, my proof of truth! We go to war, and we shall make the galaxy burn!" They cheer and caper, blood boiling, ready for the slaughter. They will do what I say, when I say it, how I say it. They are all mine. Of course, I care not for the numbers, the fleets, forces, or formations, but these are not just a gathering of disposables. Their accumulation was a sacrament, a quest to satisfy the powers from which I wish to gain favor. And finally, I have done it. We go to meet with the armada of the Praetor of Pain, Ulik, the unreasonable. As Amanthus Enveros would say, this will be so much fun. I hope that wee ditty has given some basic understanding of the type and caliber of evil we are to discuss. Once, they were the very best of the best, but now, the Dark Apostles are the very worst of the worst, even amongst the traitor marine legions. How time and the corrosive effect of the Dark Gods affect all. A Dark Apostle. It is a title with two very distinct meanings, although few would feel it really needs denoting. The first meaning is a rank amongst the word-bearers. The second is a function amidst the wider traitor legions. The simpler of the two to explain is, of course, the latter. The function and title of Dark Apostle. Their origin is ancient, for it heralds all the way back to the days of the Great Crusade and, more precisely, to the Council of Nicaea, the period before the Horus heresy was even a whisper. At Nicaea, there was a rare meeting of the majority of the Primarchs and their father, the Emperor. The momentous meeting was called to discuss the one fundamental point, the use of psychers in the legions. For a troublingly large amount of Astartes had been gifted with a connection to the warp, unsurprisingly really, as each was a lesser copy of their progenitor Primarch, and each of those titans was indeed a thing of the warp every bit as much as a being in real space. But none knew of this but Malcador and the Emperor. After long discussion at Nicaea, it was decided that the legions would not propagate or support the use of what most considered the foulest of sorceries. Hence, the Librarius of the Legions was to be disbanded, and their members forbidden to ply their trade. To make certain that this diktat would be enforced, a new sect amongst the Astartes was created, the chaplaincy. The chaplains were to be paragons of martial excellence, stoic and true. They were to be a shining beacon of power and purpose, guides in the darkness of war. Each was to be a superlative example of their legion, but also they were there to enforce the ruling of Nicaea, to keep a watchful eye against the steady downward slide into the use of psychic powers. They were there to show that such witchery was not and would never be needed for the Astartes, the Space Marines, to be victorious over whatever the galaxy threw at them, including, most importantly, other psychers. Yet when the rot crept in, and a full half of the legions fell to chaos corruption, it was often these beacons of perfection that led the way down the road to damnation. A Dark Apostle is thus now a paragon of the Dark Gods, an epitome of what it is to be amongst the degenerate horrors of the traitor legions. Fanatics all, they are considered the word of the Chaos Gods made manifest. Priests of the impure, they lead from the front in all things. not just in faith and debauched ritual, not just in the secrets of the inner mysteries of the Legion and the Dark Gods, but also in their old role as martial myrmidons, the best of the best, now the vilest of the vile. They often know the glottal tongue, the actual language of the denizens of the warp, the demons, and they are often summoners par excellence. They lead the rites, of course, but also act as conduits to the whims and directions of the Dark Gods. Any warband leader who flagrantly ignores his Dark Apostle is potentially riding for one hell of a fall. Pun intended. The Dark Apostle is also the rabble-rouser and insurrection instigator, their powers of oratory perfected over millennia. They are the ones who lead the conversions of dominated populations, transforming loyal peoples into being the most base of chaos cultists. They can act as whispering spiders who infiltrate indomitable worlds and set the rot from lowest to highest. They use their knowledge of the imperial cult to twist and deceive, most often being able to strip even a cleric of the God Emperor of his faith. Then they replace it with what they consider the truth of the universe, the worship of the Dark Gods of Chaos. Each has performed acts so unspeakable, so outright evil, that they have the mark of Chaos undivided. Thus they can preach to any wing of the congregation that is a Chaos Space Marine warband, be it Slanesh, Nurgle, Tzeentch, or even Mighty Khorne. The Apostle will know their rights, know their drives, know their needs, and how to praise them. In this way and for this reason, they rarely gain blessings from one entity, for none of the Dark Gods like to be seen as equals to their brethren. But by worshipping all, they can gain potent auras, knowledge, mystic might. They can also entreat lesser demon entities, and powers not of the four. For Chaos Undivided is a radical faith to many of the monogod warbands. Its core concept is that Chaos is one, that the Dark Gods and lesser entities are merely expressions of that power in myriad variety. So do some of those who carry the mark of Chaos Undivided clash with those patronized by the One alone. With travesties thrown from their throats, demons cavorting in their wake, the Dark Apostles are the spiritual vanguard and enforcers amongst the traitor legions. But where some might consider them like unto a wizard, these are still Space Marines, and many are of the older stock, those chosen to be chaplains all those years ago. So, in every arena, they are a dire threat indeed. For their martial skills are, if anything, even more developed than their subtle arts. They can invoke a fanatical zeal in their warbands that only a chaplain of the Blood Angels could match, can sway entire populations to hurl themselves at the walls of enemy bastions, irrespective of the losses sustained. They are some of the most dangerous humans who have ever lived. And now we get to the second use of this name, the Dark Apostle, this being the rank amongst the first heretics, the Word-Bearers. Illumini like Erebus, Ekadus, Jerulek, Marduk, Ankh-Heloth, Sarabdal, Belagosa, Sar Talgron, Mothak, Paristur, and on and on. These are just some of the names of the Word-Bearers who have, or still do, hold the rank of Dark Apostle. The Word-Bearers and their lord, Lorgar, were the first heretics, the first to fall to chaos. After the destruction of their perfect city of faith, Monarchia, where they were all forced to their knees by the Emperor of Mankind, their belief was shattered. They worshipped the Emperor not as a father, but as a god. Lorgar himself penned the Lectitio Divinitatis, the book that is now the core of the imperial cult. Ironic, eh? When his father told Lorgar he should not and could not worship him as a deity, he was shattered. His world collapsed in upon itself, for Lorgar had ever been a child in need of something to believe in. Not to know, not to follow, not to reason as the correct course. he wanted to believe. And thus, he was the perfect vessel for the dark gods, the open door permitting the vampire into the home. And his old teachers, Corpheron and Erebus, nudged him towards the darkness. Thus, when he fell, he did so fastest and hardest. Lorgar threw himself on his belly, as if born to it. And from there, he sent out his men to corrupt and twist the other legions, first by the warrior lodges, then, when the War Master was turned, by direct preaching to their cousins of the other bloodlines. Thus the heart of the word-bearers will always be their dark apostles, their own callous clerics and preachers. For the word-bearers, the highest accolade, the top of the ladder, is reserved for the Dark Council, which is, of course, made up exclusively of dark apostles. Through treachery as much as faith, the word-bearer rises through the ranks with faith. But to sit on the Dark Council is not like any other position in the hierarchies of the traitor legions. Perhaps only the Alpha are similar in this regard, for they do not concentrate on the war of bolters and marines, ships and sieges. The Dark Council holds as their remit the conversion of the entire human race. Where the Black Legion talk of battle, the word-bearers speak of entire systems brought under the thrall of the dark powers. They see the true war to be between ideas, religions. They do not wish to dominate the galaxy via war, with that being its purpose and reward. They see themselves as pontiffs of truth, shepherds bringing all of humanity to the inescapable reality of the worship of the true power of the universe, the dark gods of chaos. Yet, they are still Astartes, and are more than capable of fielding thousands of marines where necessary. Ever were the sons of Lorgar one of the most prolific of all the 20 legions, even after the betrayal at Karth. So are the word-bearers, in my mind at least, one of the most dire threats of all. Because, in the grim darkness of the far future, faith does indeed shape reality. And there are none so darkly faithful as the word-bearers and their dark apostles. I have been Baldermort, your faithful servant. Like and subscribe, tip if I have earned your bounty, and do check out the video description for other entertainment opportunities. But most importantly of all, no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Toodaloo.